Injuries. That is something that we've come across quite a lot at Newcastle United this season, and for whatever reason, we seem to be picking them up left, right and centre. I have a feeling why, and I'll go into that in this video, because I want to talk about it. It needs addressing, and, you know, I'm hoping that you guys out there will agree. This is the Toon Review. Hi everyone, my name is Paul. Welcome back to another video on the Toon Review YouTube channel, where today I want to discuss injuries, and especially injuries at Newcastle United. Something isn't quite right at Newcastle with these injuries, and I have a feeling that I know why, and I have a feeling that a lot of supporters will also know why. If we take a look at the injuries that we currently have, you know, we've got Shah out injured, we've got Manquillo out injured, we've got Wilson out injured, we've got Saint-Maximin and Almiron now added to the list. And it just seems to be an ever-growing problem. Now, we could look at Steve Bruce and say, what is his training methods? What is he doing during the week with these players that are causing so many injuries? Or we can look at the reverse side of that and look at the recovery process from the injuries. You know, we know that the training ground is absolutely diabolical. We know that. We've got one of the worst training grounds in the country and one of the worst for possible recovery of injuries. You know, ice baths in wheelie bins, paddling pools, all that kind of stuff. You know, you look at the likes of Leicester City, Liverpool, state-of-the-art training grounds and state-of-the-art systems that help with player recovery. We don't seem to have that. Now, when our players are getting injured, and especially muscle injuries, they never seem to recover. If we look at Saint-Maximin, for instance, you know, he's had so many injuries. It's like he's made of glass, but I don't think he is. We're either bringing him back too early, or when he feels like he's fully fit, he goes out there and gets another muscle injury because he hasn't recovered properly, because we don't have the facilities to check and make sure that he's recovered properly. You know, and this is why it's so important to have state-of-the-art equipment at a training centre. Like the rest of the Premier League. You know, even some bloody non-league teams have got better facilities than what we have. It's a run-down shackle of a place. And if we continue down this path of not improving it and not spending money on the training ground, then we are going to end up with all our best players out injured on a frequent basis. You know, we've got our front three all out now for the coming weeks. And that is going to affect us in the relegation battle massively. And it's something that we can't do without. We cannot do without these players, especially in the situation we find ourselves in right now. But it all boils down to Mike Ashley not spending the money. You know, we know that Rafa wanted the training ground improved. That was a given. We know that. We know that he mentioned to Mike Ashley that money had to be spent on it. And he said that for a reason, because he knew the situation that we would find ourselves in. And we are in that situation now, where we just don't have the facilities for these players to recover. And you can go all about Steve Bruce and his training methods, fair enough. Maybe they're not good enough either. But I'm not talking about that. That's a separate entity altogether. What I'm talking about today is the money that is lacking and just not being spent on a training ground for a Premier League football club. You know, Callum Wilson's had numerous muscle injuries. ASM's had numerous ones. Now Miggy's got a knee injury. We need system in place to help these players recover and make sure that they're 100% before they go back onto the pitch. Now, you look at, like I've already mentioned, the likes of Leicester and Liverpool, for instance. But even Sunderland, our neighbours down the road, who are currently in League One, have cryogenic systems there, which help with muscle injuries, which help with knee problems, which help with ankle problems. But we don't have that. And we are the team that is in the Premier League. Where is all this money going that should be spent on the club? Mike Ashley's back pocket. We know that. And he's not going to want to improve it in the future, is he? Because he's wanting out. There's no way he's going to put his hands in his pockets and say, right, I'll tell you what, Newcastle United, I'm going to do the training ground up for you. There you go. There's my parting gift to Newcastle. He ain't going to do that. So unless anything happens with the takeover, we are left in a situation where we have a terrible training ground, we have a terrible recovery system in place, and it's not really the medical staff's problem either. If they don't have the correct equipment and facilities, then they can't do the job properly. It's the same in any walk of life. If you're not provided with the tools to do your job, you can't do it to a high degree, a high standard. And that's what Newcastle United are missing right now. We're missing that high standard of equipment, high standard of technology, because of a man who will not spend any money on the football club. So where do you say does that leave us in the coming months? It leaves us with a massive problem. It leaves us with a problem of not being able to help these players in the way that we should be. It leaves us with a problem of having players out for months on end because we can't tell if their muscle injuries have recovered sufficiently. We don't have the technology there, like cryogenic systems, to help these players. And we should. It's an absolute disgrace that a club the size of Newcastle United are still putting ice baths in wheelie bins and paddling pools. I mean, that is an embarrassment to every single person at Newcastle United, including the supporters. You know, other clubs will look around and say, wow, you know, look at the pictures coming from Newcastle United's training ground. They've got ice baths in wheelie bins. It doesn't get any more embarrassing than that. It really doesn't. And we find ourselves in that situation now week in, week out. Callum Wilson, ASM, could be back a lot earlier. We could have seen a lot more of ASM had we had the right equipment in place. But because we have an owner now who doesn't give two hoots about anything to do with Newcastle United, money will not be spent. And this is a situation that Newcastle United could find themselves in for the coming seasons, where we do not get the correct player recovery, players are struggling to be fit, players get injured very, very easily because of a lack of investment. And that's what it all boils down to. And for me, I don't know how we're going to get out of the mess. I don't know how we're going to improve that when Mike Ashley's still at the club, because he will not want to improve anything to do with Newcastle. He won't even put his hand in his pocket for the transfer window. So if we get relegated this season, we are going to have the worst training facilities. For a league, remember, if we go down, the Championship is a war zone. I mean, it's so much more physical than the Premier League. So if we go down, and we are left in that situation with a Championship and terrible facilities, we are going to struggle because we're not going to get the players in, because they're going to look around and think, Christ, I'm not coming to this club anymore. You know, we've attracted players in the past because of the likes of Rafa and some of the other managers that we've had. But Steve Bruce isn't going to attract that kind of player. And any player that he does try and attract is going to look at the training ground and think, I'm not having anything to do with this. What happens if I get a long-term injury and I've got to try and get a recovery system in process? I'm going to be out for months rather than weeks. And that's how some players will look at it now. And we as Newcastle fans, all we can do is accept the situation that it's just rotten. Away from the footballing side, behind the scenes is just rotten to the core. No money has been spent and we are now suffering because of it. You know, Rafa said it before he left. He said that Newcastle United would suffer because of this problem with the training ground, and it's coming to bite us in the arse. Yet again, every bit of advice that Mike Ashley gets regarding the Newcastle United Football Club and its training facilities, its backroom staff, its the whole organisation, he just ignores it and doesn't do anything about it, which puts us in a terrible situation as fans because we have to watch these players go down and they're out for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it affects the team. Because now with our front three injured, at a critical time, remember, when we've got games that we can possibly or should be winning, we are now left without our best front three. So other players are going to have to step up. Players that have fallen out with Steve Bruce, players that haven't been fit this season, we are now going to have to rely on them. So Newcastle only have themselves to blame realistically, but that's the situation that we find ourselves in. And how we get out of it, I do not know. So what I want to hear from you guys is maybe down in the comments about what you think of the situation. How would you try and improve it, given that Mike Ashley's not going to put any money in? Would you try and get sponsorship deals somewhere else, or would you? What would you do? And what do you see the future being? You know, let me know in the comments below. I will answer them all. I'm very much interested to hear what you guys have to say on it as well. I've just sort of put this video out to say this is my piece on it. This is what I think. So let me know what you think. If you have enjoyed the video, guys, do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what you see, please consider hitting the subscribe button. There is a live show tomorrow night with Thursday Night Live with me and Holly, where we'll be joined by Samantha and Claire. So it should be a very, very good show, that one. So do stay tuned for that. Match reaction is at 2 o'clock on Sunday, straight after the game at the Hawthorns. So make a reminder for that. They all are on YouTube now on the channel, so do set a reminder for that. In the meantime, I'll be back with another video probably tomorrow previewing the game at West Bromwich Albion. So do stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on Twitter and everything for the links for that. In the meantime, guys, leave a comment to what you think of the situation, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Be strong. Be strong.